Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is finish up what we started in the last video, and so let's get going. We got a lot to do. We're talking about making your own watch. Last time we talked about adjusting a watch. And by the way, too, don't adjust or don't even try to do any watchmaking with your really expensive watches. I mean, if you have a Jaja Lacoute or something like that, and you've been through one of their courses and know how to work with it, that's one thing. But what we're doing is like very, very elementary, and believe me, you don't want to mess up a good watch. So that's important to remember. Okay, so let's go back to the whole process of making a watch. Now, I have completed a total of one entire watch, and so you may ask, what do I know? Well, I don't know much, but I know a lot of beginner mistakes, and it's not terribly hard. I've had a couple courses in watchmaking, but those are taking watches apart and putting them back together. Now, that's been somewhat helpful. This is my completed watch. It's got a ST36, which is a clone of an ETA 6497. What I did is that I modified the movement a bit by clipping the second hand post off, and so there's no second hand. That was because I wanted an enamel dial, which this is, and it had no hole for it. I didn't really want one anyway. And also, I wanted to get the sterling silver hands for it, which I thought was sort of cool. So I got it for that too. This is what it looks like for the back. There's a pretty decent fit between the movement and the case. And then I got some new straps for it, and I'm good to go. I think the whole thing was about 150 bucks altogether, which is much better than some of my other investments. This is my FP Journe Chronomètre Souverain. That's my wristwatch check. All right, so let's get started talking about watches. The first thing I want to mention is parts. You're going to have to buy certain things, and there are some different part places. These are some either I know about or I've actually bought watches from Aliexpress. Most of the stuff that I ordered from China, and it takes a long time. Give yourself about a month to get something from China through Aliexpress or one of the other ways. And here they have a number of different parts. You have the cases, you have the dials, the hands, and you can also find movements on there too. The ST36 that I used in this watch was from China. I got it from a place in Miami that had ordered it from China. Okay, so there's a place in the UK called Cousins UK, and some people who know about watch parts and so forth suggested it to me. So if you're in the UK, that might be a place. In the U.S., there's a place out in the West Coast called Auto Fry, and I got some of my parts from them. And the thing I like about them is that they have, if you're in the United States, you can get things from them even on the other side of the country within a week. That's a lot better than coming all the way from China. The other one, I got my dial from Turby in Germany. Turby is they're a watchmaker, and one of the watches they had a enamel dial, and I asked them about purchasing one, and they said, yeah, they gave me a really nice dial for a really good price. So anyhow, those are some places that you might want to look. You can talk to a lot of people that you may know, or maybe some of the online places that you might visit there where watchmakers are likely to go, especially amateur ones. Okay, so put this away somewhere. I hope it didn't ring. Okay, All right, so let's go on. The very first thing that I think you need to do is decide on the movement that you want. Now, I chose a big movement. The ST36 is based on the ETA 6497. The difference between the 97 and the 98. The 98 has the small seconds at 6 o'clock. The 97 and the ST36 has them at 9 o'clock. This one, like I said, don't do what I did. I had to modify this, and I destroyed one movement and got this one going the way I wanted to without it. But if you get it, if you get either one of these or one of the clones, get a dial that has all of the right holes and everything for it. Okay, just a piece of advice from a real beginner. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna need is a movement. You don't have to get one of these big ones. I like them because they're easier to work on for beginners, especially. I worked on a much smaller one for a course, and it was very difficult and easy to lose pieces. These pieces are a little harder to lose. All right, so that's the first thing you need. You need a movement, and I use the 6497, actually the ST36, because there's this watch guy. He's really excellent, has an excellent video on that, and I do recommend following him. He's excellent. Okay, the next thing is you got to coordinate your dial with your movement. Here there's a 6498 dial, and notice at the bottom of the dial there's a little place for your second hand, and then on the ETA 6497 dial, the small seconds are over at 9 o'clock. Now that's the only difference, but if you try to put one of these dials on the other one, it won't work because you have these little things sticking out from the front of the movement that for your second hands, and if they're in 6 o'clock and you put a one with a hole in a 9 o'clock, it's not going to work. So that's the first thing you need to know, is to coordinate the dial with the movement that you have. Okay, here the other thing is that you want to do it with dial side up. In other words, that you have, here I have one here, I have it in a case so I can handle it. There's the dial I put on there. I haven't put the hands on. This is the back of it. You want the dial side. That's on the dial side. You can't see the escapement and all of the gears or the balance wheel, which is fairly visible. So that's the side you want. It's almost like the plane side. Okay. Then when you look at the back of a dial, there are two posts, and these posts will fit into the watch you got it for. This particular one was made for the 6497, and so the little hole over to the right there is the second hand that's over by the 9 o'clock. Okay, if it were on the 98, it would be at the 6 o'clock position. But those two posts go into the movement. Okay, next, here I put a couple on. With the stem will always be at 3 o'clock. On a wristwatch. Even on mine, there's even though there's a power reserve indicator where the 3 should be, there's where the crown is, right at 3 o'clock. Now like I said, the subdials can be in different places, and here we have one at 9 and one at 6. Okay, so you pay attention to that. Before you buy the dial, you have to choose your movement first. I suppose you could do it the other way around, but the idea is start with your movement and then get a dial for that movement. Okay, now the next thing you need is a case, and I have two different cases here, and the kind that I like are the ones with the sapphire glass in the front and the back. I like to look at the movement. I'm building the thing, so I want to see what's inside. And your dial comes with its own crown, and it falls off pretty easily. I think I have one here that'll knock off. Ah, here it is, right here. Try not to handle it. There's this one is copper, not copper, but brass plated. I wanted sort of a brass looking nautical style one. And so this is the one I got for my next watch I'm going to work on. The one I got for this one is a steel one with these little rim things around it. Okay, at the bottom was what I call my the school watch that I worked on until I destroyed the movement for it. It was when we took apart and put back together again. Unfortunately, when I was taking apart, these little parts, these micro parts they had would go flying somewhere, and God knows where they are. They give you some techniques for that, but boy, I tell you, one of the best advices I got, when you're working on something, put it deep within the table or the desktop you're working on, and that way when something flies, it's likely to stay where you want it. Don't work on a messy platform, whatever you do. Okay, all right, so you have your movement, your dial, then your case, and again, it's very important that you get a case for the right size. If you have a smaller movement, a bigger case will work. That's one of the reasons that they have a long stem on it. Now, this is a pretty good size movement. This is, I think it's over 30 millimeters. But the thing is that some of the smaller movements, you'll see the long stem, and they'll go inside of a bigger case. But in what you want, at least what I want, is a good match between the size of the case and the size of the movement. So at the bottom, you can see that's the smaller movement in the Salida 210 or the ETA 2801. You have a smaller case for that, but you don't have to. You can put the smaller one into a bigger case if you want. All right, now the next thing is the hands. I got 2 leaf hands. I got pretty fancy hands, I got to admit. These are sterling silver hands, and to put them on, you put on the hour hand first, and you have these 2 different posts that you put them on. And for the hour hand, what you do, you put down a piece of plastic. They have special papers and stuff for that. I just used a piece of plastic like was recommended in the video they had for it. And then you take some tweezers, you put the hour hand on the post at 3 o'clock, and then on either side of the post where the ring is for the hand, you just press it down. But you press it down through the piece of plastic. Now the reason for this is so you don't scratch the hands up or the dial. So it's not that hard to do, but you have to be very careful about it. And it's something that is, just give yourself some time. What I found that helped is slow down to hurry up. And by that I mean, if I just did one thing at a time, it worked out much better than if I tried to do several things at once. Once you get the hour hand on, then you simply put again, using this, and then you take the tweezers and you just push it on using the back. So with the hour hand on the bottom, you put these tweezer heads on either side, and for the minute hand on top, you just press it down, again, through a piece of plastic. Slow and easy. Now, one of the things that you have to have is that the hour hand and the minute hand can't touch. If one is up and hits the other one, it's not gonna work, and you're gonna have to poke it down so it's at the right level. I was very fortunate. First time it went on, got everything on just right, and they don't touch, and everything works great. It doesn't always happen that way, and I know with my luck, I got lucky once. Okay, now the next thing is a little trickier, but not that tricky. Um, Last time I had mentioned that you need three screwdrivers, a red, blue, and green one. Here, for doing this, the only one you're going to need is a red one. And what you do, right, you just follow the stem. If I can shine this. Right at the bottom of the stem, there's a little screw right here. You can see it in the picture. And you want to use this screwdriver because it is the right size for the head of the screw. One thing I learned in the watchmaking courses was that with the three screwdrivers that I mentioned, with this particular movement, those are the three to use because all of the screws in it will fit one of the three ones. And this in the red one is, I believe it's the smallest one, and it fits right into that screw. And what you do, you loosen it, and when you do that, then you just pull out the stem. There it is right there. It comes out, and you don't want to force it. You just sort of jiggle it a little, and it'll just slide right out. So it's not that difficult. It and you only turn it about one full turn, and then you pull it off. If it gets stuck, you can turn it a little more. But be patient with it. Don't try to jerk it out when it's not ready to come out. Okay. All right, so now why take the stem out? The reason you take the stem out is that you can see that you have to put it through the middle here, and if you have the stem on there, it's not gonna fit. And so what you do is you take the stem out, and then you put the movement in the case, and then you put the stem in through this little hole right here, and this little hole simply has the crown that goes with this case. The ones I'm showing there that look like I think it looks a little blurry because I focused on the crown, the big brass crown that they have for it. So anyway, so what you'll be doing is you go through and you start cutting the stem. And again, this is something else you should do very slowly. What was suggested to me is that I cut a little and then use a file or a number 10 sandpaper and then sand it and then put it back in and see if it fits. And I did it, I don't know how many times I did a little cut. I used some good stainless steel wire cutters are recommended, and I had good luck with them too. I had gone down and got this great big thing to cut them. You don't need that. It works, but you don't need it. And so you keep cutting, and then you put it in, and then until this is flush with the case. If you cut too much, it's not going to work. You're going to have to get a new stem and start all over again. So it's better to cut just a little, sand it down, then push it in, and until it gets right up there flush with it. And just be careful, be patient, and everything. Eventually, it seems like it was never going to work. It'll work out okay. And so finally, here's some pictures I took of my watch. It's got the ceramic dial, the sterling silver hands, leather strap, and a steel case. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it doing it like I did, getting a dial that didn't have all the holes. And because it didn't, like I said, I destroyed one movement trying to get it to work right for it. And I finally did it with the other one. But don't do that. Instead, get a dial with the holes that where they should be. And also, too, I do recommend it's exactly the same one that they had in the video, and it's a ST3. I think some, or they may be called ST003, and it's simply a Chinese clone of the ETA 6497, which is basically the Unitas 6497, which is a pocket watch movement from 1950. Okay, well, listen, I'd love to hear from you guys on this and any experience you have. I know some of the subscribers have done a lot more with this than I have. So any tips or anything I screwed up on, be sure to let me know. And until next week, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Arts Sci. And as always, this is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like.